All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and this is going to be a very short video, and it may almost seem like, why are you doing this? But what I'd like to do is two things here. First, I would like to go out and open up a new browser window, and I would like to paste this into it. You will all get an email with this particular address. This is my YouTube channel for the C# class, AWD 1100 C# programming. It's the playlist URL for the spring 2018 semester. Now, I do want to mention something, and this was, if we have to lay any fault here, which we don't, but if we do, it's all on me. All right, I had told people that the book that we were going to use for this class, and let me show you. I had told people that the book we were going to use for this class was this, Microsoft Visual C# 2017 and Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming, 7th edition. Well, unbeknownst to me, and I guess I should have known this and I didn't, we're going back to the book we used last time, which is the same book except the 2015 version. And we have to do that. And the reason we have to do that is the federal government. When we had to come up with a book list for this program, it had to have been in by December 31st of, I believe it was last year. All right, not this year, of last year. And it was brought in, and this was the book that was shown there. So this is the book that the Rankin Technical College bookstore has for this class. Now, all it means is we're going to be using Visual C# 2015 instead of Visual C# 2017. What it really means is we're going to use Visual Studio 2015 instead of Visual Studio 2017, and it's okay, because the follow-up class to this class, which is a class in ASP.NET, the book we're going to use for that also assumes we're using Visual Studio 2015. So don't let it throw you, all right? And again, this right now, what I have done is these are a little older, but I've gone through and I have done presentations on each of the 14 chapters with the PowerPoints in the book, and they range anywhere from, I don't know, 25 minutes all the way, I guess one's 19 minutes here, all the way up to over 1 hour. I think the biggest is an hour and 14 minutes. So they probably average about 40 to 45 minutes a piece. In addition, I've gone through and I've written programs for chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Those lectures are anywhere from 12 minutes long to an hour. All right? And what I'm going to start to do right now, first of all, I want to make you a promise, and that is I'm going to quickly look through each one of these, each and every one of these 29 videos to make sure they're all up to date, etc. But what I'm going to do next is, since notice I don't have any code written for chapters 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'm going to do that right now. All right? So we'll call this thing Intro and Part 1, but I'm going to actually just come in here, and I've got Visual Studio started, and it's been a while since I've written a Visual Studio C# program. I've been writing Visual Studio other types of programs, but we'll see how it goes. So, File, New, Project. It is going to be Visual C#, and we're going to start with a console application. All right, I'm going to build that right on my desktop, but I'm going to put a folder on my desktop, and you're all going to see me do it. So here's my desktop, and I've got here, I'm just going to call it C# Programs. C# Programs. All right, so there it is. So the reason I'm showing you that is that's what I'm going to put in here for the path to this. And I'm going to call this one Payroll Number 01. Okay? And it's a console application. If you don't know what that means, you're going to very soon. Now I've got my, as I sometimes do here, I've got some cheat sheets for myself. And I'm going to pull those out and have those ready for me. Okay? All right. So this is payroll number 01. And I click, make sure you have create directory for solution there, and don't worry about the Git for now, so just leave that unchecked. So this should, under this C# programs folder, create a new folder called payroll number 1, and let's verify that indeed that's going to be done. Okay, that's all that's there, but if I go back here, there it is, payroll number 1, and that's what's in there right now. All right. So, in this particular example, and I'm going to write some comments at the top. And I'm going to say, this is a simple C# console program where the associated variables have hard-coded values. This means that each time the program is run, the output will be the same. Okay? And I'm just doing this to get us started, that's all. Now you're going to notice this stuff is at the top of our programs. Anytime you see using followed by system things, they're designed to be shortcuts. The one that we actually need isn't even in here right now. We have to say using static system dot console. And that's going to allow us to write on our screen here. All right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create 5 variables. So I'm going to say here string, first name, I can't remember if it's a big S or a little s, I always forget. String, there we go. First name equals Jeff. Feel free to put, of course, your own name in there. String, last name equals Scott. And I'm going to assume, so I'm going to put in here, I'm going to put double hours. So I'm going to assume that I work, and I work 40 hours a week. Okay? And I'm going to assume my rate is $25 an hour. All right? Now, I'm a little anal about this stuff, if you haven't heard me say that already, so I'm going to line this stuff up. You don't have to do this. It doesn't make your program run any better. So we'll call this here employee first name. This will be employee last name. This will be employee hours worked. This will be employee hourly rate, and I left one off. Double gross pay equals, well, for now we'll set it to 0.0. In fact, we don't even have to do that. We can actually put in its value right now, which is hours times rate. All right, and we'll put here employee gross pay. Now, each time we run this program, we're going to get the same results because we've hard-coded in the values for first name, last name, hours, rate, and gross pay. So let's put in here system.out.println. That was interesting. Why it's doing that, I don't know. Static system console. Using static system.console. I thought this was correct. System.out.println. Oh, wrong language, I'm sorry. Right line. All right, we're going to put in the employee first name plus first name. Oops. In fact, let's just copy this now about All right, the employee last name. All right, the employee hours worked. It's not going to line up beautifully, but it's fine. The employee hourly rate. And finally, the employee gross pay. All right, we're not finished yet, so just bear with me if you would for a second. All right. Now, for the hours worked, we want it to be 2 decimal places, so I'm going to put here for hours, I'm going to put dot to string F2, which means gives me 2 decimal places. All right, and I need one more parenthesis there. All right, and I'm going to do this one, dot to string, but I'm going to put a C there because I want that to be printing in currency format. All right, then finally, I want to do the same exact thing for the gross pay. So let's just copy this. All right. Now, if I run it right now, it's going to go right off the screen. So I'm going to say, we'll put here right line, one more right line. And I'm going to put in your \n, \n, end of program run. And then I'm going to put in here read line, which means that it should stop so I can see what I've done. All right, so let me run this and we'll see if it works. And then we'll go back and take a look at it. So I'm going to save. To run it, I just click the green start button here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up here so we can kind of decompose it and look at what we've done. All right. So what did we do here? Well, first of all, again, we needed to add using static system.console. If I didn't put this in, this line of code right here, then I'd have to say system.console.writeLine for each one of these and system.console.readLine. So this basically is allowing me to have less typing to do. That's all. Here's a comment that's explaining the program run. All right. What I have here is a namespace. We go into that, but not for a few chapters, and I don't want to confuse you, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. But you'll notice that the namespace, the name of it is the name of our program. All right. Class, it just says program. Don't worry about that. Every C# program has to have a main in it. Main is the program's point of entry. In the first couple of these programs that we write, we'll have just a main, but later we'll create other methods as well. All right, and it's possible if we want to that we could pass things into main. If we do, they're passed in as an array of strings. That's what the string bracket means, and they're called args. If you say, I don't get that, you don't have to. It really and truly isn't a big thing. All right, so here I'm declaring and initializing. The declare part is before the equal sign. So I'm declaring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables, 2 strings, 3 doubles. The 2 strings are first name and last name. The doubles are hours, rate, and gross pay. Here I'm initializing. So I'm initializing first name to Jeff, last name to Scott, hours to 40.0, rate to 25.0, and gross pay to hours times rate. Here are little comments explaining. You'll notice that a / means a multi-line comment, with a / means a single line comment. Then, since we've hard-coded those values in, all we're doing here is printing them out. So you see it right here. The employee first name, Jeff. The employee last name, Scott. The employee hours worked, which we formatted to 2 decimal places, so that's why it's 40.00. The employee, that should have been hourly rate, but that's okay. And that was currency, so you see the 25. The employee gross pay, again currency. Okay. And finally, a couple blank lines here. 3 blank lines, I guess. And then end of program run. So let's fix a couple things. First, it says hourly, which is wrong. So I'm going to stop the program run by clicking right there. And I'm going to change it from hourly rate to hourly rate. And I'm only going to put in a single blank line, extra blank line. So let's save that and let's run it again and see the difference. All right, I've tightened it up, so to speak, a little bit. Now it says hourly rate instead of hourly rate. All right, so that's the first example that I wanted to go in with you and show you. All right, very simple example. Okay, and what I'm going to end up doing to make my life a little easier is I'm going to grab all this code right here. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. All right, and now I'm going to do a save all on this. You should always do that, and then do a file. And I'm going to tell it to close the solution. Do I want to stop debugging? Of course, always stop debugging your program first. That was just silly. So close. All right, now everything's closed. All right, now I'm going to do a file, new, project, another console app. And before we called ours, I don't remember exactly what we called it. We called it payroll number 01. So we're going to call this one payroll number 02. If we put 01 in there, we'd probably get an error telling us a project already existed. So I'm going to make 02 right there. There it is. Looks exactly the same as the other one did when we started it. I'm going to throw that stuff in there, so if I ran it right now, it would look exactly like the old program. Notice I get these underlines here, which means error. That's because I've got to come in here and say using static system dot console, and you'll notice they all go away then. All right, so there wasn't anything wrong with the first program except for the fact that every time we run it we get the same results. So let's just create the variables and not give them values. Now what I just showing you right here, this is considered poor programming practice. You really always should initialize your variables. So let's do that. We'll put here equals, and we'll say double quote, which means set it equal to the empty string. We'll do this one the same way. Double quote, so that's equal to the empty string. We will do with this one, we'll set it equal to 0.0. We'll take this one and we'll set it equal to 0.0. Finally, we'll take this one and set it equal to 0.0. Now, I'm not going to run the program now because if I did, there'd be absolutely nothing wrong with running it. But it would say the employee first name is, and there'd be nothing. The employee last name is, there'd be nothing. The hours worked, it would be 0.00. The hourly rate would be 0.00 with a $sign, and the gross pay would be $0.00. And if you don't believe me, let's just run it. Save all, run, and there it is. Kind of silly, but I just wanted to show you that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put input in here. So instead of a write line like we did before, I'm going to put a write, and it's going to say, please enter employee first name. All right, and since I put there a write, it's going to stay right on this line. So this is going to say first name equals read line. All right, now the program's not going to act any differently, except notice that when I run it, now it says to enter the first name. But as soon as I do, it's done. Notice it's given me the first name. So let's just run it a bunch of times and keep adding something every time. So we'll tell them to enter the last name. All right, we'll run this again. And you notice now we've got those two in there. All right. Now it's not a big thing, but I am going to put a \n here, so I've got so that I've got a blank line before the output actually shows. Backslash n. In fact, let's put 2 of them. All right, so let's copy this again. Now, we want to say, please enter employee hours. But if we did this like this and said hours, all right, the system isn't going to work on this correctly because readline by itself here is expecting this to be a string, but hours is a double. So there's a conversion problem here. And it says cannot explicitly convert type string to double. So we have to do it. All right, so we have to say here convert dot to double readline. Okay, let's again save. Let's again run it. So Jeff, Scott, let's say I worked a few more hours this week. So I worked 50 hours. Notice it's got everything in there now except my hourly rate and my gross pay. All right, let's put those in one at a time. So employee rate, pay rate, let's say. All right, so I've got everything now except the gross pay. Just about there. So now I can say, oops, I gotta stop my program run. And I have to come in here and say, like we did before, gross pay equal hours times rate. All right. And now we can write everything. We don't have to input that. That's a value that we're calculating. We should be done. So let's double check. Jeff, Scott, let's say I worked 100 hours and I make $10 an hour. There we go. All right. Now, a couple things. First of all, notice this doesn't line up. So I'm going to try to make that line up, but we're going to see. So I'm going to put in here, after this, a \T. Oops. Always stop your run before you try to type in anything. So I'm going to replace that space with a \T. I'm going to replace this space with a \T. This one with a couple, and I might need to put in more, we'll see. Another couple. All right. So let's run it again and see if it looks a little nicer. Jeff, Scott, 35, 20. There you go. And I could do the same thing here now if I wanted to. I could put in some tabs to line it up, just to show that to you, not like it's a big thing because it isn't. Again, I have no idea if this is going to line up well or not well, but we can always go back and fix it later. John, Smith worked 25 hours and makes $25 an hour. All right, so we have to push these each over 1 and this one over 2. And then we should be finished. The \T is what's called an escape character, and it means to add a tab. All right, let's see if we're finished with this program. We go. So the difference was in this particular program, we came in here. In fact, what I want to do is I want to grab, because I want to start making comments in each and every one of these programs. So where's my new folder? That's the old folder, C# programs. And there's payroll 1 and there's payroll 2. I want to go into here. Grab this. into here, and I want to add that comment here. But it says this is a simple sequence where the associative values have not been hard-coded. This means that each time the program is run, the output, at least in theory, can be different. All right? All right. So, let's see. I'm trying to think of what we want to do next here. I think that what we'll do next is for payroll 3 is we'll create a very simple GUI program. So I've done 2 of them. So I've got payroll 01 and payroll 02. I think this tape has been plenty long. So I'll come back with the GUI in just a minute.